Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So, so today actually we officially start our course. Last day was just a 1 month. So, is there anything you want to ask me regarding last class? So you remember thumb rule number 1 of this class, right? That you have to interact. Yes or no?
No doubt, ma'am.
Okay. No doubt is fine, but you have to interact. That is the thumb rule number 1. And 30 students are there. What happened to the other 3 students? Only few
Ma'am, we'll
students
put it
are
on the
there.
group. I think they didn't see it.
One student has interview right now, ma'am, so he couldn't join.
Okay, we'll start. But we'll please tell others that please try to join the classes. And there are only few number of students, so it will be better if all of you join. Okay, we'll start. Last day, I guess, who was telling us about this quantum mechanics? Udit, you?
Yeah, that's
Udit was telling, right? Udit, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, my mic was on mute. Yeah, I'm there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So he only gave us an interesting answer that quantum mechanics, as it is non-deterministic, it may seem like it is some kind of random. So other than that, all of us was agreed that there is nothing random. So maybe we'll start with that position that whether quantum mechanics tells us about anything like randomism. So what quantum mechanics tells us is non-determinism, right? Non-deterministic nature. Now, non-deterministic nature means you cannot determine where the present, uh, say, mass or energy or complete information you can never know. That is some kind of non-determinism. You have already studied automata theory, right? Where you have studied this NFA, where the NFA means there are several ways to go to a particular place. So you don't know which one to choose, but if you choose correctly, you can go there. There might be more than one way to go, but ways are there. It is not always a single way. That is called non-determinism. Now, quantum theory tells us this non-deterministic nature of the physical universe. So, what we get out of this non-determinism is we can't even complete with complete accuracy, we cannot tell about the present situation. With complete accuracy, we can't determine the present. So if you don't know what is going on in the present, obviously we can't predict the future. So that is what our quantum mechanics tells us about. It is not about randomness. Randomness means you know everything about present, still whether you can predict what is going to be future. Here we don't know what is happening in the present also. That is the difference. Okay. So non-determinism, although these two terms, non-determinism and random, they might seem similar to you in terms of the meaning in English, but difference is random is not non-deterministic. Random is deterministic. You know you
Okay, ma'am.
have okay, so you have complete information of present is given to you. complete information of present is given. Now with this thing, can you predict the future? That is the question of randomness. Okay. So in case of randomness, whether it is pseudo randomness or true randomness, whatever we are going to take, it says that even if this is my system, still whether we can predict what is going to be the state in the future only. Okay. So that is the difference between non-determinism and random. One important aspect of deterministic system is there are some, it might seem like deterministic means you know the path. So if you can, so what it seems like, if you have complete information of the present, you can predict the future. That is supposed to be, because it is deterministic in nature. But the problem with some of the deterministic system is the presence of chaos. I hope all of you have heard this term, right? Chaos. What is the idea of you regarding this chaos? Do you have any idea?
Just everything will go towards chaos.
Like disorder, yeah.
No?
Like small difference in initial conditions can lead to
Okay, who is
widely
telling that?
different outputs.
Rahul is telling. Okay. So, what Rahul says is actually correct. Chaos means it is a deterministic system. So, first point of what is related to random, that is, it is going to be deterministic, that is satisfied for chaos also. We'll say that what is the relation of chaos and randomness, but let us first discuss what is chaos. So, it is a deterministic system. That means all the rules of the system, how it is going to behave and all, everything is given to you. It is completely predictable in that sense. Now, there is some twist here. What is the twist? It is sensitive. Sensitive to what? Sensitive to initial condition. So what it means is, suppose we are Saloni, do you have a garden in your house? Anyone have any garden in their house?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
some of us have, yeah.
Okay. Suppose in you are roaming in your garden and there has been a small butterfly somewhere hidden in the garden which just flapped its wings. And this chaos theory tells us that maybe you have not noticed that. Maybe it was, to you, it was completely still, normal wind flow. There was nothing turbulence about that. Only a single butterfly was there that has flapped its wings. That was the only change in the initial condition. Now, the chaos theory will tell you that even that kind of change can create something like cyclone. Maybe if you are from, say, Tamil Nadu, I am in Kolkata, maybe because of that flap of the butterfly, there is a cyclone in Kolkata. That is called the impact of chaos. So what does it mean? Suppose if we say, if this is my car, where it was say, here I am saying T, it is my configuration, say X. So the normal car was something like, say, a linear curve. Okay, this was the present situation. Now somewhere maybe there was a tiny butterfly that has flapped its wings, and it, from this initial condition, it has changed slightly to here, say. This change is very near to the initial condition, but it may create something like, so it will completely diverge when you will take some time in like not a near future but some time after. So when you just change, so for the initial time period, what you will get is these are very similar. So maybe I should take say x in this direction and t in this direction. Maybe that will be appropriate. Okay, anyway, this one will also do. So is there any? So what I want to mean is, even if this change is very small, initially it will look like the lines are going in parallel as if nothing has happened. But after some time, the impact is going to be massive. So it will, so whether in the initial condition, whether if the butterfly was not there, there would not been any turbulence in the system. It would have been a stable system like this. But as the butterfly has flapped its wings, it has created something in the wind flow, some changes in the wind flow that has created here, maybe there has been a cyclone. This is called, it is actually known as butterfly effect. And
Ma'am, the labels should be changed, ma'am. You didn't change it.
Level should be changed, yeah, right. Here should I give x? This will be t, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This may be the state, x, maybe it is the state or the configuration or the property that you are going to measure. Okay, so this is called butterfly effect, and this is the main feature of any chaotic system. That is, even if there is a tiny change in the initial condition, it can create a very large impact when you are seeing in the long run. So another thing that is related to this chaos is, there are actually several definitions of chaos. What is the most popular one is called Devaney chaotic system. Devaney chaotic system, which means that it in this is the name of the person who defined the system. So he gave 3 conditions to be a system to be called chaotic. So this system is a dynamical system. Dynamical system is the system which is evolving. So there is some changes in the system. It is not static. And any system in nature is a dynamical system. And if you create something, some say computer, then what it is happening, if something is happening, so whatever is the current configuration in say time t, it will be updated to some other configuration in time t plus 1. So this is called dynamical system. So in a dynamical system, it can be called chaotic if first condition is sensitivity to initial condition. Then there is transitivity, and third one is tense periodic. So I will not tell you the mathematical definition of these things. It might seem complicated to you. Sensitivity means
What is the third property?
dense periodic orbit. I'll explain what is that. Okay. So first one is sensitivity, as I told you, that if say we have 2 configurations, say this one was x and this one was y. Say x and y, where difference between them is very small. Say maybe say delta measure the difference. How do I say delta of x and y? Say this measures the difference between x and y. Say this is very small number. It is less or equals to say epsilon. Why epsilon is very small. Now, if you evolve this after some time, so if my function, the chaotic system is, it is a function, say f. Now f over x after n times and f over y after n times, this difference is going to be greater than equals to, say, a very large number. Say what should be my number? You can take any number, maybe this big delta. So this big delta is sufficiently large for even very small epsilon. That is the condition of sensitivity. That means even if we start with two configurations which are very near to you, near to each other, but they are not exactly similar, they will be diverging in nature. They will, after some time, if we run it for sufficiently large time, it will create something which is resulting into a butterfly effect, that is, it will be divergent in nature. Now transitivity means, this transitivity and dense periodic orbits, they will give you sensitivity actually. So this transitivity means nothing but, say we have, instead of a single configuration or state, suppose we have a set of states, say capital X, and another set of states, say Y, which are different. So this X and Y are not equal system. But if you run, so X is a set of configurations. So X will, maybe X includes the small x, capital Y includes the small y. And if you take this, whatever was inside this X, and you run it, what it will happen is, say we take, again I should write f only. So if we take f over x n times, and we put for all x in capital X, this will be some kind of state. Now that state and this y, they will be intersecting. So what it means, even if you start from two completely different states, after some time, if you run one set, they will reach to the another set. So after some time, you will not be able to distinguish which was what. That is the property of chaos. That is, even if you start with two completely different situations, after some time, if the system is evolving, you will not be able to distinguish from where you have started and where you have ended. So if you have ended somewhere, you will not be able to identify from where you have come there. It might be totally different. It might be coming from totally different sets. That is the transitivity. Another thing, dense periodic orbit, that means this orbit means the path from one point to another point, that is called orbit. So if my system is, say, starting from this position and it is going, say this is my starting position and this is my ending position, so this is my orbit. So it is moving from here to this place. So dense periodic orbit means, the system will evolve in a circuit. So if this is not a circuit actually, so I should make it a loop. Dense periodic orbit means it will, if it starts from this position, after some time it will come back to this position. Okay, so this periodicity is there. Now what is dense? Dense means maybe your system has different periods. Maybe you have started from different, totally different positions, and it will reach some period from where it will be moving into that loop forever. Now, in case of chaos, it tells that if you choose any two such, say, stable points where it will be moving into that system forever, then the difference between these two stable points are very small. So you will not be, so again you will not be able to distinguish from which point actually you have reached in this period. So say this one is one periodic orbit, another one, say this one is another periodic orbit. So So if there was some way from where you could have come here and there was some other way from where you could have come here, the chaotic system tells that even if you are supposed to reach two different orbits, if you have started from two different arbitrary points, but in practical you will not be able to distinguish between them. The difference between these two systems, these two circuits or these two orbits are very small. So all these things you can understand probably that this transitivity or dense periodic orbit, these are mathematical terms, but what it means, what is the implication of these terms is it will make the system unpredictable. Sensitivity also, it will make the system unpredictable. That means what? If you suppose there is an adversary who is just eavesdropping onto your conversation of whatever you are telling to your friend. Now they may not be may have not been able to completely decipher what you have said, but almost everything they have copied. Now there might be some points, some silly points maybe that he or she might have ignored. Some silly points were there that has been ignored. Now this chaos tells that even if that part is ignored, he or she will not be able to completely generate what you actually wanted to generate. So the system will be diverse. So maybe you wanted to create, say from A you wanted to create B, and your eavesdropper has say created A dash, then this is not going to be even B dash. This is be something completely different than A or B. It is going to be some C, where B and C are totally different. There will be no similarity between them, even if A and A dash are very similar in nature. So you can understand that what will be our benefit in case of randomness from this system. Any idea? No idea. That means you have not understood anything. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please tell something. What you have understood. If you are given a chaotic system, what you can get out of it? Where you can use it?
Since they have periods, you told like I'm just guessing, but like for PNRG, like chaotic system can be used for. Can you use it for a pseudo random generator? Because you, as you said, like it has large periods for density. It'll come back to a particular point again, and like no 2 points like.
Okay. Yeah, you can use for pseudo random number generation, but what extra benefit it can give? Will that make the random numbers more unpredictable? If it is chaotic.
I have no idea about that, ma'am. Like, so.
Okay, no issue. See, in case of what we are telling here is, suppose this was my, in this graph, what I've been telling that this was my original path or original behavior of my system, and I am trying to reproduce it, but I have measured the initial configuration slightly incorrectly. Almost it is similar, but there has been this small gap between these two systems, these two initial points. So if someone is, say some attacker is there, this was your original system, and some attacker has tried to copy the initial configuration or the starting point, but it has created something like this, then chaos tells that instead of reaching this point, they will reach somewhere like here. So what benefit it can get? They will not be able to predict what was your requirement. Like suppose this was the key that, say, this was the key to some security measure. This you are going to use for as key to your, say, uh, maybe for some security protocol you are going to use this as a key. Now that attacker has somehow copied the initial configuration, but it was maybe some 1 or 2 bits was different in that initial configuration, and he or she is happily generating the numbers but reached somewhere like here. So obviously this one and this one are not same. There are huge difference between them. So if this one is going to work as your key, obviously this one will not be the key to the system. So it will be more secure. They will not be able to, even they have say hacked your system and almost 99% accurately creating the data, but even if there is some 1% of inaccuracy in the measurement, that will lead to a wrong result. It will not give the desired output to the attacker. That is the beauty of chaos. Is it okay if you have you understood what is the application of it in case of random number generation?
Yes, ma'am.
Basically, like
Yes,
you're
ma'am,
telling,
somewhat.
like the mistake will be compounded as time increases. So as to like for initial set, it may be equal, but as and when as time progresses, because the compounding of the mistake happens, will ultimately diverge from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that is where it can be useful for random number generation. But chaos is a mathematical. It is not exactly mathematical. Also, it is a multi-dimensional topic where it is used in various subjects. So you know now you probably have noticed that nowadays weather prediction has improved much. Like so in maybe 10 years back when you were more, now also you are kids, but that time you were very little. So at that time when they used to predict something, whatever was happened was totally different than whatever was predicted. That was the situation of weather prediction. Now it has improved a lot. That credit goes to the development in chaos theory. So actually chaos theory, this theory has came into the picture because of this weather prediction only. This you may have, if you do a Google search, you can get this name Lorentz, Lorenj, I guess. I hope it is the exact name. Lorentz attractor. That he was the person who first noticed that this, if there are some slight changes in data, then whether uh, uh, what he was trying to do was he was doing some kind of computer simulation to predict the weather, and in the computer simulation he was then trying to regenerate whatever he has done some time before. There was some printout of data he has already taken, and from there he wanted to regenerate the uh, weather condition like in a simulation, and he said what he found is totally different from what was there. And then he tried to identify what is the reason why it is differing so much, and he understood that originally the data was, say, after point there was 6 decimal points after this what do you call it, so it is 6 digits after the decimal points, and when he took the printout, there he took only 3 digits after the decimal point. So the last 3 digits, that, so it was a rounded number, and the last 3 digits, whatever it was there, it was truncated here. And when he was simulating with the printout of data, then he was working on this part only. So this 3 parts, whatever it was there, it was made to 0, but some value were there in the actual case. That's why this is very small in difference, right? After decimal point, uh, like So here there say x, x, x. Then after that maybe some points were there that has been truncated. But even that much little difference has created in the simulation. He could clearly see that it was totally different than what was expected it to become. So that from that observation, actually chaos theory came into picture, and all this butterfly effect and everything that was started from that experiment. So chaos is a very important topic. It has several applications, but for our subject, we are going to use this chaos only for randomness. So what is the role of it is, in case of chaos, as probably one of you who I can only hear the voice, so others probably has said that if you run it for some time, you will get something which is divergent than the original picture, right? Others, you are saying?
Yes, ma'am, that
Yes, ma'am.
only.
Yeah. So yeah, that is the point of chaos. But what we need is, we need difference even in very small value of n. So chaos is saying that if we start with x and y, where difference between them is very small, then say again I'm using g, I should use f. Okay, so f of n x and f of n y, they are very much different. That is the theory of chaos. Now n can be large. This is for chaos. But for randomness, what we need is the same thing, but here n can be even one step. So n is actually as small as possible. So the preferable condition is, even in the next step, this is going to be good. So say you are taking x as, say I am taking 4 x, this is my x, and y was say x, y, x, this is my y. So randomness will tell that it means that if this is my x, this is my y, then for f of x and f of y also, these are going to differ. Change will be evident. Sufficient change will be there. That is the requirement for us for randomness. So you can understand probably that all random systems are actually chaotic systems, but all chaotic systems may not be a random system. Why so? Because randomness requires more stricter condition than the chaotic system. In case of chaotic system, we are happy with for sufficiently large n getting the divergent nature. Whereas for randomness, we need, even in the next step, there should be sufficiently different, sufficient difference in the two configurations. Okay, so obviously it is, if in the next step there is difference, so in the long run there will be more difference, so it is satisfying the property of chaos. But when I am saying that this is random, it is chaotic, but all chaotic system may not satisfy that. For even for the next step there will be sufficient difference, so in that case that will not be random system. So the takeaway is, all random systems are chaotic in nature, but all chaotic systems may not be random. Okay. Now let us define what is a PRNG, pseudo-random number generator. So pseudo-random number generator is one kind of chaotic deterministic system. As it is deterministic system, so there will be function. Deterministic system, you know DFA, right? DFA we can represent in terms of some tuples. What was the tuple for
Yes.
DFA? Can anyone tell me?
Input, next state,
Input,
and current state.
Final state.
Transition function,
Transition
set of input
function.
symbols.
okay.
You're asking in the transition function what are the tuples?
No, I'm asking
Phi
for
tup-
the tuples to represent the DFA.
Oh,
Set
okay.
of
Yes.
set of symbols, the alphabet, and then
State.
Alphabet, sigma, then
set of states
set of states,
that will
Yes.
comprise, and then start state,
start state. How do I represent? Say S0.
and
Then
then the transition function,
transition function say F.
and then final state, set of final states or
Set
final
of
state.
final state.
F. Anything else?
No, ma'am. Only 5 seconds.
No, ma'am.
Only,
I mean-
only 5 tuple. Now, if we convert a DFA into say Mealy or Moore machine, then what extra we need? Where there is some output.
Outputs, basically another set of outputs, and then definition of transition function will change. The domain and the range, you need to have particular what the output will be.
Output will be a function of the current state. So maybe another
Yes, so
function.
we need another function, output function. If we take say O, where O is the output function, will that work?
Yeah.
Or say instead of O, say maybe we take, if it is F, we take it G. Okay, now let us try to map this into our PRNG. So for PRNG also we need a finite set of states. So S is there. S is our finite set of states. S0 is my seed, or it is also called initial configuration. That is the starting value. But normally S0 is not mentioned in the tuple itself. Instead, we mention the probability. So mu we take, mu is the probability distribution over the initial configuration. So that is called probability distribution over S. So when we work mu over S, we are going to get the seed. So that's why instead of S0, we take S and mu, and S0 is going to be implicit. Okay. So what else we need? We have got a set of states. Now to move from one state to another, we obviously need this transition function. So F is here. F is the transition function. Of the PRNG. So what will be the definition of F? How it will going to work? F
State
will
cross symbol to state. Domain will be state cross symbol. Codomain will be state
state cross.
symbol. Ma'am, the input symbol they're reading, not the state cross symbol.
Now in PRNG we don't give this sigma. Okay, so that's why we take from S to H itself. Okay. So in PRMG, it is there is no input set of symbols. Okay, so this part is not required. We don't take this one. We take this, this. Final state also we don't take. Instead, we will be taking some outputs space. So here finite set of states are there. This F is going to work over this finite set of states. Now what we need is output. So let us take another output space, say U. So U is my output space. In case of DFA, you were taking this sigma as the set of states, set of symbols. That set of symbols was your input symbol or input space you can think of. But in case of PRNG, we are interested in generating some output. That's why instead of sigma, we take another separate output space, and we need an output function also. So output function is our G. G is going to work from the, so G is output function. So output function will be working on what? On state, it will work and it will produce some output. So this G is going to work from S to U. So this is the like for each state, it will produce some output. That output will belong to the output space. Now what it does is, you will start from say this is your initial state. Say capital is 0, capital is 1, and so on. After some time, it has to come back here. Say Sn. Here you are going to give small s0. Small s0 is your seed, and depending on seed, you are going to produce some output. How you produce the output? Your output here will be, take, so this output, say this is U0. U0 is G of S0, and this S1 you are going to get using F. So F works here, and for each of the state you are going to produce. So G works here. Another output, say U1, and so on. Is it understood where is the similarity and where is the difference? So we can say this is a finite state machine. It is not a DFA, but it is a finite state machine because it has some finite set of states. It operates with a deterministic transition function which works over the states, and it produces some output depending on the another deterministic output function with separate output space. So this is the PRNG. Now, so we have two functions. One function G is to produce output. Another function F will give you the next state. So if Si, so Si is the ith state, that will come from Si minus 1. Okay, and say G of Si will give you Ui. That will be my output at state I. Now if you just take all these outputs, maybe one bit at a time or maybe all the bits at a time. So I am not saying that what will be the length of this UI. That depends on your design. You can generate only one bit as output, or maybe you can generate say 8 bit as output or 120 bit as output. That depends on your design. So when you take all these numbers, say u1 to un, you are actually getting a sequence called random sequence. So individually these are random numbers, and when we take the sequence of random numbers, we call it random sequence. Now you can understand, if we defer the seed S0, we are going to get some different output or different for S0 we are getting this particular cycle. For say S0, instead of S0, S0 dashed we have taken. This state transition might be totally different. Now what was our property that we have already told in the last class? That first was in uniformity. Properties, uniformity was there, then
Large period.
large period was there. So this is the period. Like if I start from S0, after how many states I am coming back to S0, that length is my period. Okay, for any given seed you can get, if you take different seeds you may get different period, but if you take any seed which are inside this cycle, you are going to get exactly same period. So it might happen that your state space is, say, it is containing 2 cycles. So this one is 1 cycle for seed S0, and this may be another cycle for, say, seed S0 dash. That might be true. Or it might happen that every output, every number in the output space U are in the same cycle. That might also be true. Okay. So what do you think? Which will be more good for parents, if all the numbers are in the same cycle, or it is divided into some smaller cycles?
It's divided into smaller cycles.
Really?
The question was, is it okay if all these U's are in the same cycle, or would it be better if, for different seeds we get different sets of U's?
Yeah, which one will be better? If
If it's a bigger cycle, no, it'll be better.
Large periodicity because is
There's more chances of getting like randomness.
okay, so if S0 and S0 dashed, we are getting 2 different cycles. That means obviously the length of the period is going to reduce, because all these numbers, these are coming from U only. U has a finite set of numbers, so it is getting divided into 2 cycles. That means period is going to get reduced. But instead, if say for S0 and S0 dash, everything is coming inside one single cycle, which is very large. Say this is my cycle, which contains all these individual cycles inside it, all these configurations inside it, then obviously I am going to get a larger period. So that is more preferable in case of random number generation. But this case also might happen, that if you are taking S0 and S0 dash, you might get 2 totally different disjoint cycles. In that case, what is preferable is these cycles are of same length. That is, if say here I am not taking same length, the cycles are not exactly same. So if this length is say k, this cycle also should be k. In that case, it will be better than having different length cycles, so that for each random number generated by the random number generator, the probability of for each of the number, probability is going to be same one, because it is divided into similar length cycles. Otherwise, it might happen that if some number is falling inside this, which is having greater length, and some number is falling inside this, which is having say smaller length, then for this there will be less security or more chance of getting repeated. So that will be bad idea for random number generator. Okay, so this is about large period. Then we had independence. Independence and correlation is related, so I'm taking only one here. Another thing was disjoint subsequence. So in that case, if there are two different cycles, it is expected that the elements which are inside each of the cycles, they are totally different. They don't have any correlation between them. So that is called disjoint subsequence. Similarly, portability and effectiveness was there. Portability and efficiency. Cryptographically secure. I can take another half an hour. Oh, sorry, I have written it instead of secure what I've written. Can I continue for half an hour if it is required? I have something to complete. Although I don't think it's half an hour will be required, but still.
Ma'am, I
Cryptographically.
think there's a
Yeah, tell me.
I think there's a replacement talk
When?
at 6:15, I guess.
Okay. Okay, before that I will let you go. This is a very hot time, you know. This 5 o'clock is hot for me also. I don't know why they have given some theory classes at this time. If it was lab, it was okay.
Yes, ma'am. But we had theory classes whole day till before this
Yeah,
also.
yeah. I know. That's why it looks hot for me.
Yeah.
You don't have any slot empty for morning also. I asked already to your CR English. He told me that there is no such gap. So we don't have any choice. Instead, maybe sometime we will take maybe Saturday morning. Sometime is free for you and free for me. Then we may schedule some classes. Okay, cryptographically secure. Okay, another thing was reproducibility, which is very important uh, for our case. That's why we go for this pseudo randomness, reproducibility. What does it mean is, if we give exactly same seed, you are going to get exactly same sequence. Okay, why it is important? Because just like I was discussing about this Lorentz uh, experimentation, where he was trying to reproduce what he has already done. Similar kind of thing will be required for computer simulation, or maybe if you are testing some kind of generator, or maybe our algorithm for some random input. That random input will need to be generated again to test. So reproducibility is very important for computer applications. So that's why we go for this. This is the property which is very useful in case of computer application, and that is available only in case of PRNGs. For TRNG, reproducibility is not there. Okay, even if all these properties can be satisfied, even if we take TRNG, but reproducibility is not there. That is the important property we get from only PRNG. I guess that's it. Any other thing that I missed? Anything I missed? Okay, consistency was there. Consistency means I've already told in the last class that all these property have to be satisfied for each seed. So if you take different seed, it should not be like that for one seed it was random, for another seed it is not satisfying the randomness property. So these are the properties of a good random number generator. Now last class I asked you to check for the random number generator you have already used. Can anyone tell me what you have found?
It uses some modulo operations, ma'am, to generate the next number based on the previous number. It is called some linear congruence engine or something.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, exactly. TSCUDO pseudo random number generator. So what was your random number generator? You are telling about LCG, linear congruential generator.
Yes, ma'am. That was the most basic one. They had like C++ STL has many options, but like this is the most basic one it provides.
Okay, in C++, I think you have this RAND, DRAND 48, LRAND 48, random. These things are there, right?
Yes,
Where,
ma'am.
yeah, RAND is LCG. RAND is an example of LCG. Now, what is the basic principle of LCG? It is nothing but, just like you said, some say I am taking xn. This will be a into xn minus 1 plus, say, c modulo n. I hope I have used the numbers in the proper order. So this a, c and n, these are called the magic numbers. If you follow the book by the classical book, I don't know whether I have told this before or not. These are the magic numbers. Have you heard of Donald Knuth? He is a very old person now. Have you heard of him? Anyone?
No.
Heard of his name, that's it.
Okay. So you do a Google search on him, you will find he wrote some classic books on computer, which is called The Art of the Google search already.
Ma'am, could you repeat the last line? I got disconnected for a second.
Okay, I asked. He wrote some class on computer science, Donald Knuth, and these are called The Art of Computer what?
Program.
Programming, yeah.
Programming. Donald Knuth. So there are several volumes already. 4 volumes I also have. So in volume 2, Art of Computer Programming, volume 2 is all about this randomness, whereas volume 1 is probably about the algorithms. So these are the classic books on computer science. Okay, so anyone who is studying computer science, these are must reads. And he is still alive. He is a legend, you can say. And if you are able to find some flaw in his book, he said that he will give you some certificate, and that is a treasure. If anyone is going to get some certificate, that is obviously a treasure of life. So he is that important a person in computer science. So in this book, he gave some clear idea about this LCGs and the test bed of randomness. There are several properties that need to be satisfied for this A, C, and N to generate good quality random number. If you check the values for RAND, you will get that there are some fixed values. RAND also satisfied this particular relation. That is, this relation will be for RAND also. The difference is for RAND as well as say for another random number generator, say MMIX, that is Knuth's random number generator. The difference will be in the values. A, C, and M, these will differ and it will give you different random. apart from LCD, another class of generators are also there. Just like if you follow C++, you will get random there. So RAN and LRAN 48. These are class of LCD. And if you take LFSR, have you heard of it?
No, ma'am.
LFSR you have not heard? Digital logic, shift register.
Yeah, we did do shift register.
This is called linear feedback shift register. This is a variation of shift register where some feedback connection is also there. So I thought you have already studied this one. This is another
Ma'am, we
class.
didn't know what shift registers are, but
Feedback you have not
the
studied.
acronym was
Okay. So this is actually shift register where some point there will be feedback. So say these are my flip-flop, and say I am connecting this with, say I'm taking this feedback from here. So if I'm taking feedback from here, there is an XOR gate, and maybe not from here again, maybe I'm taking feedback from here. So what it will give you is, whenever there is a feedback, you will get a polynomial out of it. So it will generate some kind of numbers. These numbers will be my output. And as it is feedback, so once you start the clock, it will continue generating some numbers. Only requirement is there will be some kind of non-zero value in the flip-flop. These are flip-flop. Flip-flop is FF, right? You remember what was flip-flop?
Yes, ma'am, we learned flip-flops.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, don't get much confused. This is only basic thing. So this is kind of hardware circuit which is used to generate random number also. The benefit is, here we are using simply a mathematical function. Here instead of that we are using some hardware, and the hardware will be here. This is XOR gate. So this is XOR, and this will give you some kind of polynomial. This is whenever we are using XOR. So this is my first flip-flop, means x to the power 0. This one is x to the power 1. This is, oh, sorry. So I should write in this way. This position is x to the power 0. This position is x to the power 1. This position is x square. This position is x cube. Now, whenever there is a feedback connection, we add 1 as its coefficient. So what we get out of it is 1 into x0 plus 1 into x1 plus 0 into x square plus 1 into x cube. This is my output. So this is the output we get from here. So you can understand that this flip-flop is going to give another equation, and using this equation we are going to generate some numbers. So when you give some value, some non-zero value into this x flip-flop, these positions x0, x1, x2, x3, then you are going to get some non-zero value as output, but that output will be dependent upon the feedback connection, and you are going to produce some continuously. This is a dynamical system, that is, it is going to evolve. And this is very popular. If you do a Google search to check machine twister, if any of you have tested using Python, probably you have used machine twister also. So machine twister is very popular and very famous, very strong random number generator, and it is the default random number generator probably for Python and several other languages also, and that is basically an LFSR. So it is LFSR based. Similarly, random in GCC. This is another example of LFSR based random number generator. Random it is available in C++. Machine twister, I guess it is available in Python. So these are some way to generate random numbers. So from now on, I am not going to discuss how to generate random number. You have generated already. I am just explaining how they work, so that whenever next time you are going to use some rand or random or any function, you can just go to the man page if you are using Linux and check what kind of random number generator that is, what are the values for it. If it is an LFSR, there will be some coefficient, what are the value of the coefficients, whether you can find a polynomial out of it. So this is a polynomial, right? You know this is a polynomial. Now there are several properties of it, whether it is a primitive polynomial or not, whether it is non-primitive. If it is primitive, then what kind of benefit we can get. These things I am not telling you. But next time if you use random number, you just check what are the values, what kind of random number generator it is, and you also check the properties, whether the properties of randomness it is actually satisfying or not. Okay, just like I told, this machine twister is very good, whereas this random is very bad. Okay, so if you are using some kind of complicated application where you need some strong random number, you should use machine twister, not random or random. So that's it for today. Next, maybe tomorrow I will take class. I hope to take 2-hour class, that is from 4 to 6, if you don't have any class after that. And we'll start with quickshot, randomized quickshot. Quickshot you already know, so we will focus on randomized quickshot. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Anything is there?
No,
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, then you just whatever I told you as to Google search, you people are expert on Professor Google, so you just do some kind of Google search and see what I told is already correct or not, and what extra information you can get out of that. And if you have any doubt, tomorrow you can ask me. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.